It is the desire of the San Francisco 49ers to make this mission-critical move in the near future, and I can't wait to tell you about it in this video. Later in the video, I've also got some takes from John Lynch, general manager himself, on Brock Purdy, Dre Greenlaw, so stick around for that as well. If you're new here, I'm Nate. I make daily 49ers content. Please consider subscribing if that's what you're looking for. But let's start with Dre Greenlaw. How important is Dre Greenlaw? And if you're anything like me, you watched that game and you thought, more than ever right now, I can see how critically important this guy is to this organization. And it felt that way. Like there was an eye test. There was a feeling associated with that. And those of you that were at the game need to comment below, because I wasn't there at the game this weekend, but or this last Thursday. Please let me know in the comments if you felt that in the stands. But there was an energy. There was an energy about this defense that we have been waiting to see all season long, that it felt like the only person that really embodied that energy was Fred Warner, Diamond of the North too, to be fair. And this energy, Malik Mustafa, I'll give him some credit there, even though he's a rookie. And so, he wasn't around for that Dre Greenlaw energy. But the point is, this guy is critically important. And PFF, at their initial grades, had Dre Greenlaw as the highest graded player in the football game at a 92.1. Later, when they did their full grading, they put Fred Warner ahead of Dre Greenlaw. But of course, Dre only played just a bit more than half of the game. But all of that being said, John Lynch was on KMBR today, and he said, "We love Dre. We're interested in keeping him here for a long time. He is a special player, so we'll let that take care of itself as time progresses here." So clearly John Lynch sees the value in Dre Greenlaw. Clearly we've seen the 49ers, swing and miss on two linebackers in the offseason who chose different teams, and then a third linebacker who played and had some nice stats to back up his production, but clearly wasn't the right guy for this football team. That's Devondre Campbell I'm talking about, of course. I don't think I need to say that, but just in case. And PFF went on to say about Dre Greenlaw and his importance in the game, even in a loss, 49ers linebacker Dre Greenlaw was outstanding in his return from injury. Let's remember that his return from injury against the run, he totaled 5 tackles, 3 of which were deemed stops, and 2 assists, resulting in an impressive 2.4-yard average depth of tackle when defending the run. In coverage, Greenlaw allowed his only target to be caught for just a 4-yard gain, resulting in another stop. And that's a stop, or that's a gain that you would be willing to accept. But how important is Dre Greenlaw against the run? My goodness. There's so many angles to why Dre Greenlaw is a mission-critical aspect of this team going forward. There's so many aspects. You can look at his age. You can look at the intensity that he brings. You can look at the value. I'm going to get to what John Lynch said about that in a minute here too. Some of the extra things, the X factor that comes with Dre Greenlaw's return this weekend, and hopefully in the future, assuming John Lynch means what he says and does really genuinely want to sign this guy and can figure out a way to move mountains to keep this guy here, because I think that's how valuable he is to this football team. But one other aspect that we haven't talked a lot about is his effect on the run game. I mean, this is a critically important aspect that this team has desperately needed. And I'm sure that you know this, but I'm going to say it anyways. You can get great performance out of players based on who they're around, right? So you look at the defensive line. When you have a stout run-stopping defensive line, those linebackers look incredible because the lanes are tight, and when guys do get past the defensive line has done enough to slow them down and make them move, make them get in a position where linebackers can then make a play. And you don't want to see running backs getting deep into the second level. So obviously, you can see the critical importance that a defensive line improvement could have for this defense going forward. So let's hope in the draft and in free agency we can find some more of that. But it's not. It should also be stated, when you have multiple linebackers in a 4-3 defense, when you have 2 of your 3 linebackers that are absolutely stout and solid in run defense, and not on an island by themselves like we saw Fred Warner so many times this season on an island by himself. when you get that, it changes things. I believe we're going to see that against Miami, whose run offense is pretty trash anyways, but I think we're going to see that, okay? Now, all that being said, it means that you get a little bit more grace if you don't quite get, one of your defensive tackles quite right? It gives you a little bit more grace in so many aspects of the game. So absolutely think this is a mission-critical move for the 49ers. John Lynch continued on about Greenlaw, just adding to what I just said here. Despite exiting in the third quarter, Greenlaw tallied 8 tackles in low-scoring loss to the Rams. His impact was felt throughout the game. Dre just has that ability, Lynch said. But he's good anytime he's on the field. But even the great players, that's a tough thing for them to do. That's why you need training camp, off seasons. And I'm not saying Dre doesn't need those, but he has an ability to step right back in and make it look like he has not lost a beat. And it's just because he's a football player. It's like somebody has the ball, he's going to find that ball. Quickness, explosiveness, intensity, authentic passion for the game are all themes that were covered here. Thanks to David Bonilla, 49ers Web Zone, for the article, by the way. And Kyle Shanahan likes to call him Tyson because his moments are kind of similar to those of Mike Tyson, and it inspires people around him. And I think it scares the heck out of the other team. This is the kind of guy. When you hear Lynch talk about this, in my head, I'm like, Lynch must believe, without a shadow of a doubt, this is the kind of guy he has to keep around. He has to find a way to keep this guy from ending up on another roster, because I guarantee you whatever roster he ends up on, it's going to be a playoff roster, and I sure as heck would prefer if he was on ours. Let me know what you think about Dre Greenlaw in the comments on that one, of course, and how realistic it is that we sign him. Lynch also talked about Purdy in a kind of an interesting way. And so I wanted to talk to you about this one too, folks, because this is a really interesting take. There's been a lot of back and forth out there on the internet and radio waves, etc., about whether or not it's okay to kind of write off Purdy's weaker performances due to things like injuries. Here's what John Lynch said on KNBR. And I'll start with how David Bonilla opens up this whole thing here, saying Purdy has passed for 3,174 yards this season with 15 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. His 65% completion rate and 94.3 passer rating are both career lows. Brock has been awesome for us since he stepped onto the field, said John Lynch. This year's been a little bit of a struggle. Lynch referenced a statistic that highlights, I believe this statistic actually, I first heard it from Larry Krueger, but the team's offensive challenges. Last season, running back Christian McCaffrey, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Aiyuk combined for 40 touchdowns. I'm sure you've heard that stat. If you've been anywhere on the internet lately, that this one's been flying around. This year, they have combined for only 2 touchdowns. That's Samuel, both by Samuel, 1 receiving, 1 touching, okay? Things are going to be different when that's the case. And a lot of that's injury. And there's other reasons for other parts of that, but we have a lot of confidence in Brock. Now, the other reasons for other parts of that, I don't know what he means there. I'm like, is this a hint? Brock has been holding a little bit of an injury thing himself. I'm not really sure. We have a lot of confidence in Brock. I think one of the things that we love about him is the resiliency and his ability to come back after tough snaps and tough games. And we got to give some massive credit to Brock, who played some of the best football of his entire career after a 3-game stretch playing very poor football last season. Lynch emphasized that the entire team has been tested this season and must work together to identify and address what's wrong. Additionally, staying healthy next season will be crucial for future success. So I guess my question to you guys is, one, am I right on this? Do you actually believe what I'm saying here, that Lynch is kind of writing off some of Brock Purdy's struggles this season? He's writing it off in terms of lack of production from other players on the team, in terms of injuries as well. Do you agree with that? And then number 2, if you do agree that that's what Lynch is saying, are you cool with that? Are you good with that? Does it make you feel okay that your general manager is saying, no, this guy is a great quarterback and he's just in a tough spot? Because I saw a great tweet from Bonte Hill maybe yesterday. I should have pulled it up for this. I completely forgot. But he was just talking about how he's like, dude, like 26 quarterbacks in the league would be in a very difficult spot, like Brock Purdy, given the circumstances that have surrounded him. That includes, by the way, because I listen to the Morning Roast a lot, so I know what he thinks on this, that includes a lot of other aspects to what's been going on this season. So that's the personal tragedies, that's the special teams, that's the defense. When you add in the special teams being absolutely horrible all season long, being bottom of the league rated special teams all season long, you add to that the defense has given up multiple games. I think at least contributed to giving up multiple games, that the defense has not been able to stop the run. In fact, they got worse at stopping the run. That was the one thing we were hoping we saw improved this offseason. And you see all of that added in there, plus the injuries, plus your lead head wide receiver, your number one target in Brandon Aiyuk. Not only does he go out with a season-ending injury, when he was there, he was late to the party. He was not physically ready. Maybe not physically ready is not totally fair, but I mean, he had multiple drops. I mean, he was not playing great football, and I think there's that connection issue that you kind of build and you need for those OTAs and the training camp. You need to build that connection with your wide receiver between you and your quarterback. That's a part of the game. Everybody talks about it all the time. I can think of so many quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, all these guys who would have like an unofficial offseason throw-arounds, let's just throw a football together kind of thing, play catch, whatever you want to call it. And all that kind of stuff, that does matter. That does play into how this goes. When you see the offseason footage of Brandon Aiyuk out there running around a tree in his backyard and throwing a football through a tire, I mean, that's cool. Or catching a football through a tire or through a tree or whatever, if you remember what I'm talking about. Like, that's fine. But that's never going to replace getting out there against actual guys and getting out there and catching footballs from your actual quarterback with the right angle and zip and all of that on it, because that is a part of the game. I just mentioned Peyton Manning. Toward the end of Peyton Manning's career, he started to lose some of that zip, and it made it harder for guys like Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, to catch footballs. And so I'm just saying, my point is simple, okay? There were a lot of factors that I think contribute to Brock Purdy not playing his best football this season. And while it seems like it's completely unfair to say, to like write off some of those struggles in that situation, everyone wants to say that that's unfair. It at least is a factor. And I'll throw one more thing at you. I saw a Grant Cohen tweet that was a completely fair point, saying you have George Kittle playing the best play of his career. He's playing Hall of Fame caliber football, okay, something like that. And you add on that Juwan Jennings is balling out. You can't give Brock Purdy excuses. The only thing I'd say there is that's fair to a point. I will agree with you. But how often are they scheming for George Kittle? Because I've been calling week after week after week, please give this guy 10-plus targets. Please target George Kittle more. And we're not seeing George Kittle targeted that much. Now, you can say, well, Brock Purdy's just not getting to him in his reads, but those reads are set up by the team. Those are scheme reads, and organizing all those looks and how you're going to approach each given play is a scheme issue. So, I agree with you a little bit that we can't totally write off Brock Purdy. I agree in that regard. Brock Purdy's responsible for his mistakes. He holds himself responsible for his mistakes. Kyle Shanahan at times has held him responsible for many mistakes. I remember a time where I felt like it was the wide receiver's fault that he didn't catch a ball. Kyle Shanahan after the game, nope, that one's on Brock Purdy. 100% just calls him out. And so I will say, it's completely fair to say Brock Purdy should have done better this season given opportunities he had. However, I also think it's fair to have that and the reality that he's playing with being a difficult one, with the offensive line play being really weak at times. With all of the factors playing into it, I think it's fair to say that Brock Purdy's had a tougher season. And John Lynch apparently agrees with me. I look forward to seeing what you have to say in the comments. I love reading your comments, as always. We have just a couple days away before this Miami Dolphins game, which, it's not like a must-win game. It's not a whatever. As far as I'm concerned, I do care. During the game, I'll really care. But right now, before the game, I don't even care what the final score is. What I want to see is, can the 49ers go out there and play really good, solid football? Can they put together, I feel like I've said this 100 times, can they put together 4 quarters of football, all 3 phases? Can they do it? Because that's what I want to see going into the offseason. I would love to also see guys like Jacob Cowan get more of an opportunity. We have to see Jacob Cowing and Ricky Pearsall get more of an opportunity, because you can't call this offense slow and then not give this offense, when they have weapons that have speed like Jacob Cowing, an opportunity to go out there and do something special. Throw a screen pass to Jacob Cowing, get him in a good position, and let's just let the burner happen, right? You just lost your fastest running back in Isaac Guerrero, so you're now down even further on the running back room. Like, let's give some of these guys opportunities to go out there and make something happen. I look forward to reading what you have to say in the comments, guys. I'm excited about it. I love watching football, and I'm actually, like, as much as I'm like, oh, let the misery end, I really am enjoying watching Niner football, and I want to keep watching it. So I'm really hoping that the 49ers play really well this Sunday. I'm not even sure I'm going to be able to watch the game live. I'm probably going to be watching it late due to family being in town for the holidays and all that good stuff. But let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day. And if I don't see you for a little while, I hope you have a fantastic holiday season.